Man, it sucks. It happened again. The chants F the Mormons rang out at Oklahoma State against BYU. And the reason it really, really sucks is I would love to tell you I don't know why this keeps happening, but I do know why. It's because the league does nothing. That has to change. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Thursday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Man, we're going to talk about it again. This F the Mormons chant that Oklahoma State put out against BYU in a game yesterday, and how this continues to happen in the Big 12 Conference and nothing is done about it. And how religious hate in this country festered to the point of a church shooting of an LDS church in Michigan. And survivors of that same shooting went to a BYU Cincinnati football game and had their faith attacked. A month after they had their faith attacked in the physical, grotesque way it was in a church that was burned down in Michigan, they had to face it again against Cincinnati. You know what the Big 12 did in the wake of that? You know what the Big 12 did in the wake of survivors of a church shooting at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who were at a Big 12 event, who heard Cincinnati say F the Mormons? You know what the Big 12 did to respond to that? Nothing. I can tell you, this almost has less to do with BYU for me, because I know there are Oklahoma State fans. I know them. I know there are UCF fans. There are Arizona fans, Utah fans who are practicing members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they're coming to a Big 12 event, and they're hearing what they believe in. They're hearing their future, their eternity mocked and turned into a joke. And they're not even BYU fans. They say, hey, I'm a member of that faith. Why are you yelling this? Why are you spewing this? That gets under my skin. And I'll tell you why I felt the need, the push, the pull last night to talk about this. To like get up out of bed late in the evening, 11:30 on the East Coast, and say, you know what? I'm passionate about this topic because I know I can turn on ESPN today. I know I can turn on Fox Sports today. I can turn on CW, you name it. And no one is going to be talking about this. No one. But isn't that how hate spreads? Isn't that how misinformation, ignorance spreads? The lack of conversation, the lack of understanding. And you're going to get that. No one's going to talk about this. But imagine if it was F the Catholics. If it was a slur or a chant against those who are Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist. If you went to a Big 12 sporting event and a fan base, a student section, a section of the stadium chanted F the Christians, they would all be kicked out of the game, banned for life. And there would certainly be a fine for the Big 12. Massive ramifications to where the fans would never do that again. A penalty, something that affects the game itself, because that F the Christians would be so heinous. But that's what they're yelling here. It's exactly what they're yelling. The idea you can go into a Big 12 contest and hear your faith attacked and then hear nothing from the school, nothing from the conference, no fine, that this is allowed. We allow this. It is a black spot, a mar on the conference that you will not say something or do something. And you know what? The Big 12 in the next 48 hours might put a statement out. We do not stand for religious hate. We have fined Oklahoma State $50,000. It's not enough. You did that to Colorado. You fined them $50,000. And you know what? You know how I know that was just kind of a charade? Just hey, look, let's do this one time. Let's appease them and it'll shut them up. Like, let's give BYU $50,000. Let's fine Colorado $50,000. Let's and put out a graphic and we'll move on. It'll go away. And then it didn't go away. Because Cincinnati did it in November after that Colorado game. And you know what the Big 12 did? That since it feels so performative that they would fine Colorado, put a statement out for Colorado. But I had friends who were at the Cincinnati game who texted me and said, hey, man, it's happening again. This sucks. When will the league stand up? And you know what happened after Cincinnati? Nothing. The same faith that is attacked daily because, oh, they can't have caffeine. Oh, those weird people that can't drink caffeine. Oh. It's like, no, that's not, no. Swig, dirty sodas are the number one consumed thing. Diet Coke's the number one consumed thing in Provo. No, but they can't have caffeine. No, hey, whoa. Let's read a little bit. Let's do a little research here. There's an ignorance to this. And you know what? You know what's crazy? I'm not even mad at the kids. I'm not mad at David, man, who is a 20-year-old junior at Oklahoma State, who, yeah, he was a part of the problem last night. But guess what? It is not that David really believes F the Mormons. I hate the Mormons. This is a kid who everybody else around him is chanting the same thing, and he thinks, I'm going to join in. Because he's ignorant. He doesn't know. And no one's telling him. No one's letting him in on, hey, these are A, normal people, B, practicing, like, for me, right? I'm not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but I am someone of faith. And their whole deal is believing that Christ died for their sins. Now, if me saying that, it's like, the Mormons believe that? If that's news to you, that's part of the issue. The lack of knowledge here, the lack of understanding, the lack of willingness to understand until someone in a position of power, someone like a governing body, someone like the Big 12 goes in front of a podium and says, this stops today, and here's why it stops. Because if you do this, you're fined $250,000, $500,000, and we will flag you. We will give you a flagrant one. We will, and they'll pick the free throw shooter. We'll give you a flagrant one. We'll give you a 15-yard penalty in football. This won't happen again. And you can sit there and say, like, oh, wow, I heard Christ on my podcast today. That was, I didn't know, this is a religious show. But, dog, this isn't even about religion. For me, this is about hate toward what people believe in. And that's where it goes too far in any capacity. And that's why it's worth it to me to speak out as someone of faith who doesn't want to see this, who knows this doesn't belong in our conference. Today's show is sponsored by Indeed. Indeed is exactly where I'm going right now to hire an intern. I need an intern. Locked On Big 12 needs an intern to run social media. Please. With Indeed, I'm getting qualified candidates almost immediately. In the minute that I've talked about this, or I am talking about this, 27 people have been hired on Indeed. 27 people have been hired on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Indeed sponsored jobs. Get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job and your candidate you need. Indeed.com/podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is where I go for my NBA tickets. To GameTime.co, GameTime.co. Download that app. The section deal thing, you like go and see a section itself, and then they pick the seat and you save a ton of money. That's my favorite. It's like a fun little prize. Like, all right, question mark, what do I win? You win a seat for really cheap. I love that piece. Download the Game Time app today. Use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. All right. Yeah, man, I'm going to continue to talk about this until somebody does the right thing. And I'll talk about it on Westwood One Sports, man. It's a national radio show with 300 radio stations across the country that they're going to find out. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I'm not. Thanks for hitting subscribe so I can keep my job. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.